Hey, the Potard here. This video is kind of an introduction video that's going to be part of a tutorial series I'm making, with the main objective being how to draw anything realistically. It's going to be for people who have zero experience, and more importantly, it is not going to be based on any shortcut methods. Some people call those dead-end methods, but I thought that sounds a little too harsh. Basically, a shortcut method is any technique that puts you in a box, a limit on what you can potentially do. It's like giving you a fish without teaching you how to fish. You might get quick satisfaction, but not great for really developing yourself as an artist. An example would be the grid method, because with this method you won't need any skills in proportions, and therefore you probably also won't need to develop much hand-eye coordination. Your imaginative as well as observational development is going to be lacking. So will your understanding in structure, form, and lighting, just because they're not needed as much. You are likely stuck with copying something over block by block for a very long time, or at best, you realize at some point you waste your time and need to relearn what should have been developing alongside your other skills. Now, to be clear, I have nothing against those kind of techniques, just that for the goals of my course, I want to give you the most flexible skill, a strong foundation. I don't want to just give you a fish or even teach you how to fish. I want to teach you how to make a fishing pole, how to spot the best fishing places, maybe even build a fishing boat if you are committed enough. So this is kind of a first class that I'm releasing for everyone. For more information on continuously accessing future classes and draw along exercises with commentary, asking me questions, get feedback on your drawings, check out my announcement video, link is in the description. Alright, let's start. What tools do you need for this course? At minimum, just a pencil and paper, and some kind of eraser. But if you want to take full advantage and learn all my little tricks and tips, get some soft charcoal pencil, compressed charcoal, a drawing pad, kneaded eraser, and hard rubber eraser. And some kind of soft blending tool. I have a video on how you can make one from just newspaper. And you really want to have a good heavy-duty electric pencil sharpener. Now, because I'm assuming I'm talking to someone with zero experience, the first class or two might be a bit boring. But even if you are experienced, you might pick up a little new perspective here and there. The way I teach, I like to first make sure you kind of get the large concept before I dive into the details. And we do the draw along exercises to reinforce that. It's really like how you're supposed to do a drawing. Everything is kind of an art form if you think about it. Growing up, I hated when teachers teach you something but doesn't fully explain the why. You know, like just do it this way, don't ask why. I'll be sure to cover the why throughout the entire course. Cause so many of you are smart, you'll connect the dots much easier if you have the reason explained to you clearly. Also, after every class video, I will be collecting the most frequent questions, in case there are concepts that requires more explanation. Then I'll make an appendix video answering the questions for that class, if needed. Okay, lesson 1. What makes a drawing realistic? It is realistic when we are able to successfully create an optical illusion. We're using shapes and tones to give the idea that we're looking at something three-dimensional on a 2D paper. What do we see in the 3D world? You can say a million things, but it really all comes down to one thing: light. Light reflecting off things. That's really the only fundamental thing that we see. It is obvious, but I want to put this idea in your head early, cause it's going to be more and more important as your skills improve. So I want this idea to always be a part of your thought process. Where is the light coming from? What kind of light? Which I will delve in later. Let's take a step back. For most beginners, to draw something realistic, you need to cross a symbolic bridge. On the left side of the bridge is a land of ideas, concepts, symbols. 99% of us starts here. It is excellent for thinking about things and function on a daily basis because you save so much energy by reducing objects and things to a simple concept. Symbols, kind of like line drawings and emojis and clip arts. When you draw stuff as a kid, you do the same thing. You draw outlines, ideas, instead of what the object actually looks like. But you need to be able to cross that bridge and get on the right side where you see things as they really are, not what you think they are. This is where the line, draw what you see, not what you think, comes from. If you hear something different or in reverse, it's mostly for advanced level, where you go beyond what you see and you start drawing what you know and feel. But that's beyond the scope of this course. Okay, so let's cross the bridge from concepts and symbols to realistic looking stuff. Once you understand this part, it is like a light bulb turning on in your head. Suddenly realism is so obviously easy to understand. We'll use an example. A nose, right? It's the same example I used in my other video. If I ask a beginner or a child to draw a nose, they'll probably draw something that looks like this. Which makes sense, because that's what we think a nose looks like. It has a bridge, right? It has a round tip. Technically it's made from two greater alar cartilage, but we'll leave anatomy to another course if that is in demand. We have two wings on the side of the nose. Yes, those are called wings, and nostrils. Now I say great, but if you look at an actual nose, explain to me, where do you see those two dark lines for the bridge and the outline that clearly shows the wings of the nose and the outline of the nose in general, really? Sure, we can feel or sometimes kind of see where the outline is, but it's never anywhere close to what a beginner draws. Conceptually they are there, but in reality what you actually see is something very different. What is actually there is this mesh of shapes and gradients that connect together to create an illusion of a nose. And for a lot of parts, there is no clear line that tells you where one thing begins and the other ends, where the nose bridge stops and where the rest of the face starts. What you actually need to draw to make the drawing realistic is simply something like this. I'm going to desaturate the picture this time for demonstration purposes. You don't and shouldn't need to do that. You can learn to see value with color, and you should. Now notice I'm really just drawing what I see. Now you don't need to use this as a follow along. I will be making various follow-along exercises with a variety of objects. Those of you signed up for the class will receive the video in your email and on my Patreon page. When people mention techniques like turning a familiar reference, object, or face upside down, it is really trying to accomplish the same thing of getting you across this bridge. Getting the familiar symbols and concepts out of the way so you draw what you see. Now that you understand a bit better about the concept behind realistic drawing, what are the skills required to make your drawing look good? Just two things really, assuming you are able to focus on drawing what you see. 1. Tone control, how to get the right value. And 2. Proportion, where do you place something? With just these two skills, you can draw anything that you can see realistically. And those skills will be the focus of my next few lessons. But first, through a couple of exercises following this lesson, I'm going to make sure almost everyone is able to be on the other side of the bridge first. And then I'll teach you how to improve on those two fundamental skills, which is again, value control and proportions. If you have not joined me yet, it's cheap, it's easy. Make sure you watch the announcement video in the description. It shows you how to join the class, where to post your finished exercises so that I can easily see your work and more. For those of you who just want to sit back and enjoy the art, I'm still going to keep making my art videos. Any questions regarding any concept I have talked about here, just leave a comment. Cheers!